13 hours watching another Marvel Netflix show.
Sweet Christmas.
Hey everybody, Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard here. Luke Cage is back, the hero of Harlem, Power Man himself, the bulletproof man. He's back for another season. Luke Cage, what did I like? What did I dislike? Let's talk about it. Of course, Luke Cage Season 2 is part of the wider Marvel Cinematic Universe, so let's talk about what we've gotten from Marvel so far in 2018. So, of course, best things from Marvel so far this year. It's going to be hard to top. Avengers Infinity War, of course. It's freaking awesome. I loved it. It's amazing. What else can you say? Right under that, Black Panther. Also fantastic. Loved it, but come on. It's going to be real hard to beat Infinity War. Then we have Jessica Jones Season 2. I enjoyed it a lot, but I think I enjoyed it more than other people. So it kind of depends on your preference, but it was fine. It was alright. Then we have The Runaways. I didn't find it very engaging, but it wasn't really bad. I enjoyed a fair amount of stuff that it did, but it wasn't very engaging to me. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't great either. It just was there. And of course, at the bottom, as it should be, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 5. I did not even want to finish this season. It was really, really bad. I'm going to go more in depth in that in another video later this year when I go over the entirety of the Marvel Universe from 2018. So a little sizzle reel for you there. But just know it was really bad and I did not care for it. So where does Luke Cage Season 2 fit on this list? Well, let's talk about it. So the plot of Season 2 is Luke Cage is fresh off defending New York with the other defenders, and he's back to being the hero of Harlem and cleaning up the streets and being an all-around good man. And while he's trying to clean it up, a family crime feud begins between two families that threatens to spill out onto the streets, and it's up to our hero to stop it and maybe even choose a side. Without too many spoilers, that is a general plot of Season 2 of Luke Cage. So let's talk about the characters. So we got some returning characters, of course, and we have, of course, my close personal friend, Mike Coulter, reprising his role as Luke Cage.
Sweet Christmas.
He's awesome. I mean, like Robert Downey Jr. is Tony Stark, Mike Coulter is Luke Cage. I couldn't imagine anyone else playing him. He does it fantastically. I love what he does. He's got a big heart, but a lot of anger. He wants to clean up the streets, and it wears on him. It's a lot of good stuff. I love what he's doing. He is so good as Luke Cage. It's fantastic. We have Simone Missick reprising her role as Misty Knight, dealing with losing her arm from the events of Defenders. And I actually found her subplot to be the most interesting part of the entire season. She's really cool. She's kick-ass. She has some awesome fight scenes, but she also, has to deal with the smaller issues, as well as dealing with her own life, and a lot of cool stuff with her. I enjoyed her a lot. It was fantastic. And we have Theo Rossi reprising his role as Shades. No longer just a thug, he's moved his way up in the crime family, and is taking on some bigger roles and has a lot of torn tension with himself of what he should do and what he can be doing, and a lot of cool stuff. I like what happened with Shades in this season. They do some really cool stuff there as well. I enjoyed his character. And finally, we have Alfre Woodard reprising her role as Black Mariah, or Mariah Dillard. She was pretty okay. So she's basically trying to rebuild her empire from what happened in the previous season. but she's maybe a little too crazy sometimes, a little too over the top for me. But other times she works really well. So she's kind of give and take. I don't know. She's on the fence for me. She's kind of good. I don't know. She's kind of right. And we have a couple new characters. I mean, we had a bunch of new characters, but a couple worth mentioning. And we have the villain of the season, Bushmaster, played by Mustafa Shakir. Hopefully I did not butcher that. I probably did, though. And he is fantastic. He's, faster than Luke Cage, but just as strong, and, also has a bit of a, impervity to being cut and things like that. And they really built him up as this really, rival to Luke Cage. And I like what they do a lot. He's returned to Harlem to reclaim his birthright and takes on Mariah Dillard. And doesn't care what gets in his way. And he's very driven. He's very awesome. I like what he does. Some really good moments with him. I like him a lot. Finally, we have Gabrielle Dennis, who plays Tilda. I believe they went with Johnson. But basically, she's Nightshade from the comics. I really love her subplot as well. She has some really, really crazy and deep parts. I like what they do with her. It's a lot of good stuff. So yeah, thumbs up all around for her. So what did Luke Cage Season 2 do well? So of course, as I mentioned before, Misty's subplot is fantastic. I love what they have her doing. It's a lot of good stuff. I don't want to spoil it, but yeah, just dealing with the fallout of what happened in Defenders, as well as, figuring out her life now, working with Luke Cage, but also working within the law, a lot of being torn. I really like what she did. I found her just to be the most compelling part of the entire season, and I really enjoyed that. One complaint I think a lot of people had from the first season is the fight scenes were a little weak, as a lot of just kind of brawlers. I think they stepped it up a lot with the fight scenes, and I think bringing in Bushmaster, having a bit of a faster, more martial arts style fighting compared to Luke Cage's just brawling, added a lot. I think they did some really cool fight scenes, some really awesome moments there. So that was really awesome. I enjoyed the fight scenes. And of course, this belongs to the wider Marvel universe, so there's nods and tips and Easter eggs and all sorts of things. Not a lot to the movies, although I will say this has to take place before Avengers, because you would definitely need to mention what happened in Infinity War in this, but yeah. Now, of course, I've bitched about the gap in between, the movies and the Netflix stuff, but within the Netflix things, there is a lot of cool stuff. We get some cameos from people from other shows and mentions of things going on in other seasons, and I think it ties really well and had some interesting nods to other Netflix properties, so I like that a lot. And as the first one did, this one does as well. It's incredibly seeped in black culture and Harlem culture and things like that. Luke Cage is really this, shows himself to be this really great black role model, as well as a black superhero for everyone to look up to, but he's definitely within that black culture, and I like that a lot. It's very Black Panther did that, but he was more of like an African culture, where Luke Cage is more of an African American culture, the blacks in America living in America, and that's very cool. As well as it kind of taught me a thing I did not know about. So apparently there's a bit of a divide between African Americans, so blacks with actually African descent, and Caribbean Americans, people from Jamaica or Trinidad and Tobago, or the Caribbean in general. There is a fair amount of black community from there, and I guess there's a bit of a divide between those. I didn't know that. I had to check with some friends, but apparently that's a thing, and it's kind of cool. Not only was I taught about it, but then they kind of went in depth and how that is, and it's kind of interesting, and I like that. It was a very cool moment, to be taught a new thing for me that's in our real culture, that I was incredibly ignorant of. So that was very cool. I like that a lot. And finally, So I binged watched this, of course, like I do with all of them. So 13 hours watching. It's hard to get me excited, but the final episode was great. It was a great season finale. And, being 13 hours in, you'd think you'd just be totally burnt out and just, But it actually reinvigorated me. It's like, oh, crap, yeah, that was great. So it definitely got you back in it in the final episode. It was really cool. But no show is perfect. Where does Luke Cage Season 2 fall short? Well, like with all the Marvel Netflix stuff, it feels too long. It's 4 or 5 episodes too long. They really need to just cut these down to 8. Defenders worked so well as 8 episodes. Like, just take the budget you'd have for 13, divide it into 8 so you'd have stronger 8 episodes rather than stretching stuff, because it felt like so much they were stretching all the time. There's basically episodes 6 and 7 and parts of 8 really felt just dragged out, and we can just get past these. But enough happens where you have to watch them, but you're still just like, oh my god, just get through it. So yeah, I mean, just cut these down to 8 episodes, please, please, please. We don't need 13 episodes every season. Just a solid 8 episodes, please. Just narrow it down here. You're stretching yourself too long. Just narrow it down. Another interesting problem it had is the least interesting character in Luke Cage this season was Luke Cage. I mean, they talked about his anger and dealing with that, and how much being the hero of Harlem wears on him, but I don't know. I didn't find that very interesting. I thought more of the subplots with like Misty and Shades was a lot more interesting than anything Luke Cage did. He seemed to be the least interesting character in his own show, and that's not a good thing. Yeah, I don't know if they didn't know what to do with him, or maybe it's just me, but I just didn't find him very interesting this season. And along with that, they built up Bushmaster as this big villain, this rival to Luke Cage. He can take on Luke Cage hand to hand. And then they don't do a lot with him. They kind of build him up and then just don't really do a lot. He could have been a great villain, but he was incredibly underutilized. It was really weird. Because, episode 2 or 3, I'm like, yeah, Bushmaster, this is going to be good. Like, we're going right into this. He can take on Luke Cage. This is going to happen. And then they kind of fritter him away and don't really do a lot. And I think he fights Luke directly, 3 times. 13 episodes and 3 times. I don't know. He felt like he was very underutilized. So, of course, I watched all 13 episodes, so it's spoiler-heavy time. So throw up the spoiler sign, jump to this time code here if you want to skip spoilers, but we're doing some spoilers now. So, yeah, I want to discuss Tilda and her development into being Nightshade. It was really cool. So she's the daughter of Mariah Dillard. So you find out about halfway through the season that she's the result of incestuous rape. Like, Jesus. And, you see the switch turn in her head, and she starts developing into, Nightshade. She's helping out Bushmaster, and they, pan her off at the end of being angry at Luke, and she's, gonna be possibly the next villain, or maybe a villain in another show. But I really like her development into that character. It was a really good build into that. So it'll be kind of cool to see that in season 3 of that. It's not just a new villain coming out of nowhere. It's one that was built up in previous seasons. I like that. I like the actress that played her. It was an all solid character. I love that. Although it was incredibly dark and awkward moment when you find out that, she's inbred. And you're like, oh, boy. As of course I mentioned before, we have cameos from various people. Some worked, some don't. So let's discuss them now since we're in the spoiler time. So the one I've seen people talk the most about already on Twitter is Iron Fist. Danny Rand comes and joins our hero Luke Cage. And that is the classic comic team-up of Luke Cage and Iron Fist, the heroes for hire. So my comic book nerd side was ecstatic to see these two together, doing their thing, being buddies. That was a lot of fun. But my critical side was like, I hate Danny so much. Just his characterization in his own show and in Defenders, he is awful. I hate him. So you're like, Danny. But they actually do a lot of good stuff with him. They don't make him annoying. They don't give him excuses why he can't Iron Fist. He just does it. So I thought this was the best use of Iron Fist that we've gotten so far. So thumbs up there. But then that's all ruined because he's only around for one episode. So it's basically like special guest Iron Fist. And why couldn't he interact more? Like Jessica Jones season 1, Luke was a character in that show. He was in 7-8 episodes. He was a mainstay of that show. Why couldn't Iron Fist be a mainstay of Luke Cage? Come in and out, do his thing, help him out. He was just around for one episode, so it felt like I got a good taste. We're heading in the right direction, but it's gone. It was the juicy fruit of a cameo. You're like, oh, that was good. Oh, it's all gone. And they kind of do the same thing with Night Nurse. Of course, Claire Temple is in this. She's in every Netflix thing, but her and Luke share a romantic relationship, but she kind of fucks off 2 episodes in, and you never see her again. And I don't know if that's Rosario Dawson's scheduling conflict or what the deal was there, but yeah, she is not in this at all. 2 episodes, and then she fucks off. Doesn't even come up in the end, I don't think. She might have for a second, but yeah, they don't do a lot with her. So yeah, it's just why even bother? But there were 2 cameos that I thought worked well. We have Colleen Wing comes back and hangs out with Misty Knight, which is another classic comic team-up. They have a bar brawl. She gives Misty some advice and then kind of goes off. And I felt that one was a lot stronger cameo. It wasn't overdone. It was just the right amount. And I hope we get to see these 2 team up again. In either later episodes, have their own show. I don't know, but these 2 worked well off each other. And like I said, it's a classic comic team up of Misty Knight and Colleen Wing. So yeah, that was awesome. And of course, we get Foggy, and Foggy's always great. He shows up for 1 episode, maybe 2, is doing his lawyer thing and goes away. But I enjoyed Foggy. He was a lot of fun. So yeah, I've wandered on long enough. Let's go ahead and wrap this up. So in the end, Luke Cage Season 2 is okay. Nothing great, but nothing terrible either. Very middle of the road, which probably makes this review very boring because it's a lot funner if I'm very excited if it's good or if I'm pissed off that it's bad. It's just very middle of the road. It felt a little droney as it went on. As all of them, they could have been cut down. But overall, it was pretty okay. It was a solid entry into the Luke Cage saga. Nothing to go crazy for, but nothing to hate either. Just very middle of the road. Did you see Luke Cage Season 2? Let me know what you thought in those comments below. Sweet Christmas. Please hit that thumbs up. I need more thumbs up. And share this video if you could. That would mean a lot to me. So I'm Sexy Matt the Pharaoh Wizard. Until next time, Sweet Christmas.